YTBC, what's the deal? So one of my old college teammates, who I still correspond with time to time, he had sent. We were talking about the Duke and Kentucky game that just passed, and then we just got into a conversation about college players of the '90s, and we're going back and forth. And he posed a question to me to pick 5 players from the '90s. If I had to start a team, 5 players, regardless of the position, try to get them, try to get a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, so on and so forth. But just pick 5 guys. And there was a lot of good talent in the '90s, man. There were guys that can, great scorers, good rebounders, guys that won multiple championships, played on multiple Final Fours. There were guys that were just extremely talented, that played in good conferences. There were guys that played at very small colleges that put up a lot of points. But just go back to the '90s, Ed O'Bannon, Corliss Williamson, Carter and Jamison, Stackhouse and Wallace, Duncan, Canby, Weber, Kerry Kittles, Calbert Chaney, Damon Bailey, Hank Gathers, Bo Kimball, Todd Day. I go on and on. Kenyon Martin, Don McClain, Jalen Rose, Malik Sealy, Terry DeHare. We can go on and on. What about the Kentucky teams with Walker and Delk and Anderson and Mercer and was Muhammad on that team? Nazi Muhammad? I think Muhammad was on that team. Maybe McGlure, but I know the other. I know Mercer, Anderson, Delk, and Walker were on those teams. Jim Jackson, Ohio State. We can go on and on. Keith Van Horn had some good seasons at Utah. Rafe LaFrance, Paul Pierce. We can go on and on with this, right? So Larry Johnson was another one. If I had to pick 5, the 5 I will go with is I would have to have Shaq. I know one year he averaged damn near 28 points a game and like 15 rebounds and 5 blocks. I know he was player of the year in '91. He was just very dominant down low, man. He had good post moves. His freshman year, he looked still raw to me, more looked like just a raw talent. He was a good shot blocker. He was a shot blocker his whole career at LSU, but still need to be, seasoned down low with his post moves. Everything was just power dunks. But he started developing a jump hook and just being a better pivot player and having some finesse, not all just dunks, but just jump hooks over the left and right shoulder, up and unders, and a little, hook shot every now and again. But 28 and 15 and 5, I definitely want him playing center for me. And he did it at a high level. He did it at LSU, won player of the year in college basketball also. Could never win a championship, but there's a lot of talent back then, man, in those early '90s. So I would definitely have Shaq. Christian Laettner, I would definitely have on my team. 4 straight Final Fours. He hit the shot, put up crazy numbers. He was never scared or intimidated, even when went against Shaq and went against LJ and other great black players. He was never intimidated. That's one thing that I liked about Laettner. I hated him, but I hated when they beat Michigan, man. I was a huge Fab Five fan, huge. But I hated Laettner, man. But I'll have him on my team. So that's 2. Then I will have, man, it's tough. So I have O'Neal Laettner. Give me Glenn Robinson. I'm going to go with Glenn. I know one year, I can't remember which years it was, but I know he averaged 30 one year, then 25 another year. He was just terrorizing the Big Ten. Guys did not know what to do with him. And there were some good players in the Big Ten when he was playing. Jim Jackson, you had the Fab Five. You had good players around, but Woolridge for Iowa. I believe Woolridge was playing around there, but guys just didn't know what to do with him. I remember him playing with Quanzo Martin. I remember that Purdue team. I don't remember every player, but I remember that Purdue team. And Glenn was tough, man. I thought he got outplayed by Grant Hill when they lost to Duke in the tournament, but Glenn was terrorizing the Big Ten. He had game. He can shoot from the elbow. He can shoot the three. I remember the big dunk he had against who was the center for Kansas, man? What was that big white dude with the missing teeth? Ostertag. Oh, he postered Ostertag in the tournament. Glenn had it all, man. He played with fire. He had all the skills at 6'9". He had all the skills that you would want. And he was a good rebounder in college too. He was good. When he got to the pro, he turned more into a shooter, but he was terrorizing the Big Ten. So give me Shaq, Laettner, and Robinson. And then at my guards, there's a lot of guards to choose from. At point, I'm going to go with Penny Hardaway. I just, in the 90s in college, I mean, there are guys that probably have a better resume as far as things they've accomplished, like a Bobby Hurley or Jalen Rose. But as far as just talent at the point guard position, and with this, you can pick, it's easy to look at these guys in hindsight, but I'm going by what they did in college and their talent. And I know Penny was one of those guys that was on that squad that scrimmaged the USA Dream Team. They scrimmaged the USA Dream Team, and they got the best of the Dream Team the first day. And then the second day they played the Dream Team and lost by about 60. But he was on that team, and he was one of the players that was giving them problems, along with Rodney Rogers and Webber. And there were some other guys that were there, Grant Hill. I believe Rodney Rogers was on that team. But what I do know is Penny Hardaway was on that team, and he was giving them hell. And just watching his games when he was playing for the Tigers, I mean, he was like an athletic Magic Johnson almost. People like to compare LeBron to being an athletic Magic, but shit, you can say Penny Hardaway was the first really at 6'7". Yeah, I'm gonna go with Penny Hardaway at the point. And I'm freestyling this, man, so I'm pausing a lot because it's hard to remember every single thing about all these players. But O'Neal, Laettner, Robinson, Penny, and then my other guard, I'm gonna go with Chris Jackson from LSU. I'm sorry, y'all. Maybe it's some bias, but you show me another guard, man, that can get his shot off so easily in the 90s. We're talking about the 90s now. A guy can get his shot off so easily, so smoothly, can shoot, 50%, 90% from the line. I mean, he was money. He was money. He wasn't a bad defender. He was a small guy, at 6'1", but he was strong. He could finish. We know he was battling Tourette's. He's battling Tourette's, and that was something that stuck out. But even with that, his game spoke 1,000 words, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I just haven't seen a guard, man, that, a small guard better than Chris Jackson in the 90s. Yeah, that's just my opinion about it. I know guys were more athletic than him, like a guy like Iverson. And you have some other, and I know I'm forgetting a lot of guys, but even a guy like, but he had good handles. He didn't have, sham God handles, but Chris Jackson still had a good handle. There was other good point guards around, but Childress for Wake Forest was another good point guard. There was good talented players around, but Chris Jackson. I'm going to go with Chris Jackson, Penny Hardaway, Glenn Robinson, Christian Laettner, and Shaquille O'Neal. That's the 5 I'm going to go with. So for you hoop heads out there, man, what y'all think about that 5? Or who would you pick for your 5? YTBC, I'm out.